all you handsome guys and gals out there, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where I talk about anything, everything, and anything about movies. I'm your host, Chase Lee, and hey guys, listen, if you were searching on the internet to, get ready for Thanksgiving, and you accidentally came across, this podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully I can convince you to be one. This is episode 153, guys. If you're new to the show, welcome to this special Halloween episode. Rightfully titled. What I do on the show is I will take a look at some movie news, some movie trailers, have a movie review for you guys, box office results for the weekend, and then we'll close up shop and you guys can get to whatever the hell else is way more important in your life than listen to this goddamn show. Alright, but for this week on episode 153, movie news as usual, guys. I have a couple trailers to talk about, and then since Halloween is on Monday, I figure, let's do a Halloween episode just from start to finish. I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself and how I grew up with horror films. What are some of my favorites? Do I have any theater experiences? Have I ever had a date with a horror film? What are some of my least favorites? And, just kind of casually talk about horror films and the holiday with you guys and whatnot. And then I will also, because I know you guys love fucking surprises, I have a surprise movie review for you guys. Welcome to the podcast. That was a terrible vampire impression, which I'm not going to ever do again. But yeah, I have a bonus review for you guys. So what is it? What did I watch last night? All right, so... And then, of course, box office results for the weekend. But first of all, how are you guys doing? You guys doing pretty good? It's a pretty laid-back week here in Texas. The weather's pretty nice, and everyone had their Halloween parties last night. And I hung out with a couple of my awesome friends, and we'll get to that in just a second because we saw the movie I'm going to be reviewing. So, yeah, it's just been an interesting week, and I hope you guys had a great week too. And without any further ado, let's get this shit started. And by the way, since this is episode 153, I am only 3 episodes away from hitting the 3-year anniversary mark. Holy shit, that's crazy. Okay, yeah, it kind of blows my mind. I've been doing this for so fucking long. All right. So moving on to the movie news, guys, there is a lot that dropped, and I'm going to try to not spend too much time on it because I want to get to the Halloween portion of the episode, let's get all creepy and shit, set the mood. But no, for the movie news, the biggest news by far this week was that Deadpool 2 has lost Tim Miller as their director. He was the director of the first one, and him and Ryan Reynolds and the writers are the ones that have been championing this film. They've been trying to get it off the ground for many, many years. They've worked together. They delivered a really successful product that made a shit ton of money, so it would only make sense that Tim Miller came back. Now, the story is that he is not coming back, and there's plenty of rumors circulating, but the most common one, I'm just going to take it with a grain of salt, is that Tim Miller left because his vision of the movie was different than what Ryan Reynolds was envisioning. Now, Tim Miller wanted to go a more serious, darker route, and Ryan Reynolds wanted to keep the fun, kind of campy, light tone to it. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh God, is this like one of those cases where like the actor has, his ego is too huge and he thinks that he can just run the set and he's bossing people around? No, that is not the case. Ryan Reynolds is a producer on the film. Now, if you're a producer on a film, you are the top dog on the film, not the director. The producer's the one that wrangles everyone together. They're the one that sees the project from start to finish. They're the ones that oversee it. They are the supervisors, managers, whatever you want to call them. But Ryan Reynolds is one of the producers, which means he's pretty much in charge of this entire franchise. So if him and Tim Miller don't kind of gel well, it just makes sense to me that he would have to let him go under creative differences. It doesn't sound like anything's wrong with like their friendship or anything. It just sounds like it's just one of those cases where they could not decide on a vision, and they were not gelling like they did with the first one, and so Ryan Reynolds had to part ways with him. No big deal, but a lot of directors are circulating, but the top choice for Deadpool 2 is David Leitch, and he is one of the directors of John Wick. Here's the deal, is that John Wick is a really great assassin film. The action is really well done. It felt realistic. It felt grounded. It didn't feel, artificial at all. It felt genuine. I felt like the choreography I was seeing was practiced and trained, and it wasn't CGI and made with a quick fix in a computer. That's all fine and dandy. But let's make no mistake, is that Deadpool First is a comedy. It is a superhero comedy. So with David Leitch coming in to direct it, I would say that makes sense for like an action standpoint. But for a comedy standpoint, I mean, John Wick had like dry humor that Keanu Reeves would deliver after like he killed someone. Like, he would shoot someone in the face and be like, "You didn't see that coming, did you?" Well, I mean, that wasn't the line, but something like that. So that kind of worries me a bit, is that he wouldn't be able to deliver in the comedy aspect and try to get like the best comedic performances out of the actors, or when they're in the editing bay putting the film together. Constructing like the funniest sequences and stuff, and I don't know, it doesn't, like I said, it makes sense for like an action standpoint, because the John Wick's choreography and action is very awesome to watch, and that does fit in well with Deadpool. But then the humor and the comedy kind of concerns me. But who knows, maybe he can pull it out and be a funny motherfucker, and I'll be like, David Leitch, you're one funny motherfucker. But until then, it still kind of worries me about halfway. But that's not a bad choice, just not really my first choice. So yeah, that's that story. That is a huge story. And I also have to comment on the whole Quentin Tarantino thing. Listen, I realize you guys like Quentin Tarantino a lot, and I do too. I love all 8 of his movies. But here's the dildo, folks. He's not going to fucking direct it. So I don't know who started this petition, but apparently you don't know Quentin Tarantino very well. The guy writes and directs all of his movies. What makes you think he's going to take someone else's script and try to follow that and try to listen to Ryan Reynolds and what he wants? No. Quentin is going to do what he wants. He's going to do his own film. So I don't know where people are getting this fucking misconception that, Quentin Tarantino is going to direct it. I don't know what fucking fantasy world you're living in, but it ain't happening, okay? So just stop. Whoever created that petition, just feel shamed that you did that, and then, stay away from the internet for like 2 days, then you can come back on. But yeah, that's just asinine. He's not going to do that. The next piece of news, good old Donald Glover. He is well known for being on shows like Community, and recently on the show Atlanta, that's really crushing on FX right now. He is going to be in the Han Solo movie as Lando Calrissian. Now, you guys all know this if you've been listening for a long time, or hello if you're new out there. I don't really care for Star Wars that much. I think it's a fine, little, fun sci-fi fantasy film. But I do not go ape shit over it like I go ape shit over, like, comic book films or horror films or indie films or whatever. So, yeah, Star Wars isn't my thing. However, Donald Glover being Lando Calrissian, I think that's pretty good, actually. From what I've seen in the movies, Lando Calrissian is kind of like this suave type of person. He's got a lot of swagger, and he just seems like a pretty cool dude. And I think, excuse me, that was disgusting. If you mix in Donald Glover's personality and charm, I think it actually fits very well with Lando Calrissian. And he's also been in a lot of like dramatic stuff as well. And Atlanta, I saw the pilot, and even though it's kind of funny, it's also very heavy with dramatic themes. So he's actually a really good actor, even though he came from a comedy background. So him as Lando Calrissian, I'm totally cool with. For a young Han Solo movie in general, I'm still whatever on the idea. It's like, I don't know why they did that. But then again, I'm not a Star Wars, huge fan, so I don't know, like, story and characters and whatnot. I just know from an actor standpoint, I think that's a good pick. So the next piece of news is that Godzilla 2 is going to be coming, and also Godzilla vs. King Kong. Please just take my money, Hollywood. So the news is that Godzilla 2 is going to be written by Michael Dougherty, who has done one of my favorite modern horror films, Trick or Treat, and he also did Krampus last year, which I thought was pretty good, actually. I kind of enjoyed it. He is going to be tapped to direct Godzilla 2. Now, a lot of people did not like Krampus, and most people like Trick or Treat. So a lot of people are saying, like, listen, you only made one hit movie. You had 8 years in between both of those movies. Like, why is this, like, small kind of indie person doing Godzilla 2? I'm okay with it. Like, here's the deal. Godzilla is fucking terrifying. And the fact that Michael Dougherty's got he's got a real grasp on horror films. I think that he could really kind of add, like, a horrific kind of spin to the sequel, maybe, and make it even scarier, and have Godzilla fight whoever he's gonna fight be more, I guess, enthralling. I have no clue, but that doesn't bother me that he's gonna be doing it. If you look at, like, people like Colin Trevorrow, who did Safety Not Guaranteed, a very, very, very fucking small indie film, he went to go direct Jurassic World, and that was like an over $200 million budget movie. So I mean, it's possible, and maybe he delivered in a pitch or something when he was writing. He's like, I have a vision for this. This is what it's going to look like, and maybe Warner Brothers was like, that sounds pretty cool, Mr. Dougherty. You can go ahead and do that. And plus, Michael has worked with them in the past with Trick or Treat. That was I think, Warner independent movie. So he has worked with Warner Brothers in the past. So, yeah, this makes total sense that they would keep it in the family. And like I said, for all the people who are like, oh, he's a terrible choice. Why? Like, Krampus was awful. Well, Krampus is whatever you think. But maybe, like I said, he delivered a good pitch. So we don't really know the whole story. But him directing Godzilla 2, I'm actually really fascinated by the sequel more than I ever was about the reboot. And I actually like the 2014 Godzilla. The whole, there wasn't enough Godzilla. He only came in at the last fight. That shit doesn't bother me. As long as you make a pretty good movie with great build-up, and then that build-up pays off, there's nothing to complain about. But it's neither here nor there. I know a lot of people that do not care for it. But I think him directing Godzilla 2 could add, like, a really kind of horrific spin on it. So I'm kind of looking forward to it. The next piece of news is there's a lot of what the fuck news happening this week. And the first one is that Sausage Party, which I actually liked. I said in my review it wasn't really funny, but I really appreciated the social commentary, religion, race, sexuality, all that stuff, kind of making fun of society, but playing it in food and drink form. Columbia is trying to push Sausage Party for an Oscar. Now, I don't know the validity to it. It's probably true, and they're probably thinking to themselves that they could possibly win it in the animation category, which I think in the long run it does have a chance to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. Only problem is that you're going up against Kubo and the Two Strings, probably Finding Dory, Zootopia, Moana. I mean, you're going to get your ass kicked. I mean, listen, I think it would be very interesting if it was nominated as a raunchy, hard R movie with all these, like, family and kids films. That'd be fucked up. Can you imagine if you're watching the Oscars and you're with your kid or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, I saw Zootopia, Daddy. Oh yeah, Finding Dory, I remember that. Oh, Kubo and the Two Strings, that was great. Sausage Party, what's that, Daddy? Can we watch that, Daddy? Can we watch Sausage Party, Daddy? The dad's just like, fuck no, little Jimmy, you go to bed now. Like, we're not going to discuss this ever again. Oh man, that would be very awkward. Like, how would you describe Sausage Party to your kid? Would you just be like, son, it's a nice little adventure of a bunch of hot dogs and a bunch of other food items trying to make it back to the grocery store, and then they all find a good lesson in the end. Like, I want you to try to keep a straight face and tell your kid that when describing Sausage Party. Okay, Daddy, I want to watch it now. No, I will not taint your young mind. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think it has a chance to be in the Oscars, but it's not going to win. But I think it's kind of cool, though, that they're pushing for it. So, hey, more power to you. The next piece of news is that Sean Levy, who is actually been producing some really great hits with Stranger Things and Arrival, and he's directed films Cheaper by the Dozen, The Night at the Museum movies, Real Steel, which that was pretty good. I don't think Sean Levy hits it very well when it comes to the comedies. I think his comedies are subpar at best, and I don't know. He just seems like a guy that doesn't have a grasp on comedy in terms of directing, but in terms of producing, he's doing very well in picking his projects with, like I said, Arrival and Stranger Things. So the news is that he's going to direct the Uncharted film. Now, Uncharted, if you guys don't know, is a video game. I do not play it, but it basically, it's like Indiana Jones. There you go. And it's also like the male version of Tomb Raider, which, Lara Croft, she's kind of like the female Indiana Jones, so it's kind of like that. But with him directing, sure. I mean, here's the deal. I mean, once again, this goes back to the Doherty thing, where he could have went in there, had a fucking badass pitch, and been like, listen, this is what we're doing. Here's my vision. And they're just like, well, fuck me sideways and call me Mo. That's a great fucking vision. So, I have no clue. But just looking at it on the surface, no thank you. Sean Levy's not even like my 100th choice as a director. It's like, yeah, just stick to producing, bud. That's my advice. So, yeah, sorry, not really interested. And I don't really know much about the game, so I don't know, like, tone-wise and whatnot. I just know from looking at synopsis, pictures, trailers, it is like Indiana Jones. The next piece of news is that Shaun the Sheep 2, this is for all you Shaun the Sheep fans out there. So, president of the Shaun the Sheep fan club, this is for you to tell all your members a sequel is in the works. Now, I didn't see the first one, but I love claymation. I love Aardman. Is Aardman the one that did it? Aardman, they did the Wallace and Gromit and the Shaun the Sheep. I believe it's a TV show, and they've done like Flushed Away, Chicken Run. It's a really good type of claymation house, and I think they can actually compete with like Leica and stuff. And they're really huge overseas. Like here in the U.S., they're like a nobody, but overseas they're like fucking kings over there. But this is for all you Shaun the Sheep fans. Sequels in the works. Makes sense. The first one got like a 90-something% Rotten Tomatoes. It did very well overseas in the box office. So makes all the sense in the world. So congratulations, Shaun the Sheep fans. I catered to you guys this week. That's how I roll. So the next what the fuck piece of news is that Ice Cube. Listen, I like the guy. He's very funny. I actually think he's got some of the most straight-faced, stone-faced comedy you will see, and he can deliver anything without breaking a sweat or smile. and he delivers it pretty well. I mean, if you watch the 21 and 22 Jump Street franchises, he is fucking hilarious. Ride Along and Ride Along 2, no fucking thank you. Now, the news is that good old Ice Cube, Icy Cube, he's going to team up with Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is big off of the Broadway show Hamilton, and I thought he did pretty well in his SNL appearance. They're going to do a modern take on Oliver Twist. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck is this? Like, why? If you guys don't know what Oliver Twist is, it's the orphan movie where Oliver brings his bowl up to the person serving the porridge. Please, sir, can I have some more? It wasn't that exaggerated, but you guys get it. They're going to do a modern take on it. It's coming from, was it Disney? It might have been Disney. It probably wasn't Disney. I probably read the wrong story. I guess it's fine. I mean, here's the deal. Oliver Twist could be a very relatable movie to modern times and stuff because there's still, orphans out there. I don't know how to describe this. I guess if they do it correctly and they make it, somewhat serious and it's got a lot of, heart to it and whatnot, I think it could be a nice little family film. But then again, they remade Annie, and that's a classic, and they put it in modern times, and that flopped on its fucking face. So I have no clue how this is going to be reacted to people, but Ice Cube and Lin-Manuel Miranda is such a weird combo. I kind of dig it. I'm not really, too excited for this, but if I see, a trailer or set photos or if I know who's going to be directing it or whatever, I might be a little bit more interested. But modern take on Oliver Twist, sure, what the fuck? So there you go for all of you Oliver Twist fans. Two more story, guys. Like I said, the news stories were fucking off the charts this week. There were so fucking many. Incredibles 2, which I'm super excited for. I don't know about you. Came out in 2005, I believe, or 2004. I was in high school when it came out, and I enjoyed it so much. I think this is one of Pixar's best films. Their catalog, I love the camaraderie between the Incredible family and just the superhero nature of the film. It was just a very good, wholesome family movie that now a bunch of adults like because, like I said, people like me that grew up with it as a teenager, now we're in our 20s and it's fucking weird that we're excited for Incredibles 2. But the first one was so good that we were all clamoring for a sequel like Pixar. What are you doing, fam? Give us an Incredibles 2. That's what we want. So it took them a while before they announced it, but they announced it, and it was supposed to come out in 2019. Now, the story is that Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4 are actually switching release dates. So Toy Story 4 is actually going to come out in 2019 now. We get Incredibles 2 a year early, and we get it in 2018. Can I get a what in the butt? Oh, no, not that. Can I just get a what? Because that is some fucking great news. Them pushing it up means that Pixar really wants to get Incredibles 2 out there and stay relevant in the superhero genre that's flourishing today, and I think that's just such a smart move. And listen, I like the idea of a Toy Story 4, but I don't need it. I think the original 3 is one of the best trilogies of all time. It is that good. So when they announced a Toy Story 4, I was like, god damn it, they ended 3 so well. Why would you want to do a fourth one? Well, cha-ching, motherfucker. It's money. But I get that. But it doesn't make sense story-wise, but whatever. So them switching Incredibles 2 and Toy Story 4, that is, like I said, super smart. Gets me more excited for Incredibles 2. And if you think about it, since 2016 is almost over with, I mean, I cannot believe there's only 2 months left of this year. But when we hit 2017, we're only going to be like a year away from Incredibles 2, so that's pretty fucking dope. So, Incredibles 2, year earlier, Toy Story 4, pushed to the butthole of 2019. And the last piece of news, which I am excited for. I said this in my review, and I knew it was coming. Here we go. So this movie, God Particle, is coming out November 24th of next year. You're probably thinking to yourself, oh no. Is this one of those, like, the religious movies and whatnot? And you're probably thinking to yourself, it probably is. I actually thought so too. I thought I was like, okay, so it's gonna be like, God's Not Dead, or all these like religious movies coming out and whatnot. That's fine. It's not my market, but I realize that people out there do enjoy those films. So God Particle, get this. I'm about to pull the wool over your eyes like a goddamn magician. God Particle is actually a movie. And that's it. No, I'm just kidding. It's a movie that's based in the Cloverfield universe. The movie comes out in 4 months. Okay, first of all, J.J. Abrams, you sly son of a bitch. I cannot believe you've done this twice now. Because in January of this year, we had a trailer drop for 10 Cloverfield Lane. And it said, it's coming out in 2 months. It is a movie set in the Cloverfield universe. What in the holy tit fuck? Are you kidding me, JJ? Which means he just made this movie under a different name the whole time and kept it under wraps. But to be honest with you, at this time, he was doing Star Wars, so everyone was concentrating on that and weren't concentrating on his other projects, so that's how he was able to do it. So then 10 Cloverfield Lane comes out and it crushes. And I said in my review that this universe is so good. It could be like an anthology taking place in different houses or different environments, different neighborhoods around the world while this event of this alien is coming down to Earth. So I knew that they were going to make another one. I thought maybe it'd be like Cloverfield something, Cloverfield Street or whatever. Cloverfield Town. But this one, God Particle, they announced that it's within the Cloverfield universe and comes out in 4 months. I'm sorry, but like, most studio films should fucking do this. What genius-ass marketing is this? Like, when you have a trailer come out in January with 10 Cloverfield Lane, blows everyone's fucking socks off. Like, all your socks off. And you're like, God damn, that was a great fucking trailer. When does it come out? 2 months? What? Because if you think about it, most trailers nowadays will get you hyped up, and you're like hyped out of your fucking mind. You're sweating, and you're like, oh my god, I'm having an out of body experience. Oh, it comes out in 2020. Well, hey, dumb shit. All your excitement is just fucking leaking out of your body at that moment when you see the date. So, Hollywood, you are the dumb shit. Listen, you stop releasing trailers for movies that come out in 2 years. I understand teasers are a thing, and I like teaser trailers, but release them like a year out and be like, yo, this is coming in 12 months. I'd be like, okay, nice little tease, that's fine, it's whatever. And then release a trailer at 6 months, 3 months, boom, you're done. But what J.J. Abrams did with his production company Bad Robot and releasing 10 Cloverfield Lane 2 months before it came out in terms of trailer, that's so genius, because when people were talking about the trailer, they're like, I want to watch this. And then they're like, yeah, you can. Comes out in a couple months. That's great. And God Particle is the same way. When they announced this as a Cloverfield movie, that get me more excited. I'm like, how long do I have to wait? 4 months? Ah, fuck, I can do that. I'll go hibernate and play video games and eat Cheetos out of my belly button or something. I'll be fine. I'll just, seclude myself in my house until then. So, God Particle is coming, guys. Happens in the Cloverfield universe. Continue that anthology, son. I think it's a genius move. I like what they're doing with this franchise, so please keep it up. So that will do it for the movie news, guys. Just running right at 30 minutes. So what about you guys? What was your favorite news story? Comment in the place with my face and let me know. As far as the trailers goes, guys. What the fuck kind of sentence was that? Don't worry, guys. I got a C+ in high school. Like, throughout all my classes. I was just a little bit above average. So the trailers that dropped this week, there was only 3 of them that dropped. I actually like all 3 of them. They're all different and unique in their own weirdness, but let's talk about them. The first one. This one's kind of weird. It's from, I believe, IFC. Let me talk about it as I'm looking it up, and I'll see who's releasing. I believe it's the. Of course, my internet's not working. I believe it's the independent film channel that's releasing this, but it's called Peter and the Farm. And you're probably thinking to yourself, "Oh my God, what is this? Is this like some movie that you found in the deep, dark butthole depths of YouTube, and you want to tell it to us?" Well, yeah. The trailer is set up, like this guy has, a lot of pigs, a lot of chickens, a lot of cows, a lot of land. He looks like a nice little old farmer. And then bam, they hit you in the nuts, and they're just like, they hit you with all this Red Band trailer shit, and then, I'm not even joking, that's how the trailer is. It's very calm, very meddling, and then bam, right in your nuts. And, you have all these animals dying with him cutting them and stuff, and, like, he's just cursing, and I don't know, it looks pretty cool, and it said that, like, he had 3 wives. I don't know, it could be a really interesting documentary about this one farmer who had 3 wives, and we're just kind of peeking into the life of him. So, I don't know, I find it kind of interesting. I like weird shit, and this is the Halloween episode, so, ooh, boo, motherfucker. I think this trailer is perfect for this episode. Looks intriguing. I like weird-ass documentaries and stuff, so following this guy around, having him curse and cut chickens' heads off, let's do it. So, yeah, Peter and the Farm, Red Band trailer, check it out. That's the weird one of the week. The next one I'm going to talk about, this is Netflix, and I'm really excited for this one. It's called The Ivory Game. And that pretty much is self-explanatory. It's about ivory hunters. That's basically, it's a documentary. It's not like a narrative. But I think this movie is really important because ivory hunting is very, very dangerous. It is very much. I think it's illegal. It's a very like underground society, and ivory is just as important as like drugs and like guns in terms of like the trading world and whatnot. And I think that's just super fascinating how, the ivory is so expensive and there's so much worth on it that, people go to many, many lengths to kill other people just to get that ounce of ivory or however it's distributed in weight. But this is Netflix. They're releasing it, I believe, a couple weeks from now in November. So, yeah, the Ivory Game looks really fucking cool. I love documentaries about nature and, like, hunting and stuff. And I'm not a hunter myself, but my dad is. And I just think that whole world is fascinating. And, the whole ivory market has always been fascinating to me. So seeing a movie based on it gets me pretty pumped for it. And the last trailer. I know you're probably thinking, like, you're spending 5 minutes on the trailers, but you spent 30 minutes on the news. Well, guys, the news is pretty big. But the last trailer I want to talk about is Man Down, and this stars Shia LaBeouf and Sam Worthington, I believe. And so what I gathered from the trailer is that Shia LaBeouf was in combat in the military. He witnessed one of his friends get shot. He comes home, and his PTSD is starting to change him, and people treat him differently. So basically, it's a PTSD narrative, and Shia LaBeouf plays the main character. I've said this for years. I have actually said that Shia LaBeouf is a damn good actor. He just is. Now, you might look at his antics throughout his life and be like, well, it's a little too extreme for me. Yeah, I get that. Not for everyone. I actually think that there's a method to the madness. Let's put it that way. I believe that, what he's doing in terms of his antics, not his douchebag antics, but in terms of going around the country and taking these road trips with people and just talking with them and whatnot. I believe that he's just a genuine person that likes to know people and likes to get to know people and just have conversations with people about life or just whatever's on their mind. And I think that's really interesting as an artist, trying to pick other people's brains. But he's a damn good actor. When you watch films like a Nymphomaniac or even Disturbia, the guy's got so much range, it's kind of impressive. Transformers, big-ass blockbuster. Hell, he started out on TV. Disturbia, horror, Nymphomaniac, independent drama. American Honey, independent drama. He's done a couple of other smaller films. He's done a golf movie. He did Eagle Eye. That's kind of like an action movie. I mean, the guy's kind of impressive when in terms of genres and stuff. He's very kind of wide knowledge in a lot of things, but this one, I've always said he's a good actor, and I still stand by that, but this is just another example of how talented this dude is. There's so much emotion just in this 2.5 minutes that I'm actually really excited to see this now. This trailer put the film on my radar, and whenever it pops up, I would be glad to sit down and watch it. It looks like he's going to give one of the best performances of his career. Like I said, within the 2.5 minutes, I felt for his character. I felt for the emotion. I felt for the frustration and the struggle of this character trying to adapt to society when society rejects him and he's got PTSD. Just on a side note, guys, I know this is not a government podcast or, politics or whatever, but, listen. I am not really for war. I'm not really against war. I'm kind of in the middle. I see some purpose to it. I also see it as a waste of money and a casualty counter, if you will. So I'm kind of in the middle. That's where my viewpoint is. But when people do go to war and they make that decision and that choice to join the military and go, I have no problem with that. Go serve your country. I salute you, sir or madam. But when you come back, and there have been many, many, many documented fucking cases on PTSD with people in the military, what does the government do? Absolutely fucking nothing. And that kind of irritates me to no end, is that we treat PTSD people like the scum of society. We shouldn't treat anyone like the scum of society. It's like they fought for, our freedom, and they're protecting out there, and they're doing their thing. But then when they come back and they need some help by getting a job or getting an apartment or a house or whatever, you're just like, no, you're too mentally unstable and stuff. And I get that. I realize that war can mess people up, and that's why, you have things like counseling, and you have medication, and you have other forms of things to kind of help it or whatnot, because it's not going to be fixed, but you can ease the pain versus just casting them off onto the side and be like, oh, I don't want anything to do with you. So I think it's kind of fucked up that you want war so goddamn much in this country, but then when they come back and they have PTSD, and you're like, they're second-class citizens. So that's fucking disgusting. So anyways, back to movies. But what I was talking about does make a point, because they do highlight some of those things in the film, and they're really going to kind of touch base on all the things that's wrong with war veterans in the society and how we treat them and whatnot. So I think the film looks great. The performances look out of this world. Shia LaBeouf is a great fucking crier. I'll give him that. So yeah, Man Down was definitely by far the best trailer of the week. And there wasn't really that many trailers. Those were only the 3 that came out that I witnessed, but Man Down is definitely my favorite. Then Ivor Game and Peter and the Farm, but all three of them are fan-fucking-tastic. So we're at the 40-minute mark, guys, and that will be it for the trailers. What was your favorite trailer I talked about? Comment in the place from my face and let me know. Now, whoa, I don't know what that was. It was like almost a fucking bug flew in my mouth. Excuse me, guys. Damn, I know you guys don't want to hear that. Okay, so the appetizers are gone. We're getting to our main entree now. The main fucking course. Guys, let's talk about Halloween a little bit. And let's talk about some horror films. Let's get a little personal. Let me tell you guys like how I got started in horror films. What are some of my favorites? Do I have any theater experiences? I'm just going to tell it all, guys. It's going to be Chasely Life Hour. I'm not kidding. It won't take an hour. But I will talk about horror films for a bit because they are one of my favorite genres of film. So... And then, of course, I'm going to have my bonus movie review. What's that bonus movie review, Chase? Well, no! That's second. First, we got to talk about some horror and how it influenced kind of my life. So, as a kid, I never really watched horror films, actually. I was scared. I was a child, and I would get nightmares and stuff, and I still occasionally do at 26. But my mom... Which is really funny because my mom is a religious woman. She goes to church. She does really great things for Sunday school, and she helps out with people at her church a lot. Great woman. If you ever met my mom, you would love her instantly. But my mom, ironically enough, she's the one that introduced me to slasher films. I remember, like, when I was a kid, we would watch them on TV and stuff, especially around the Halloween time. They would have them on the channel. They would have like Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street. And she would tell me all the time, like, like, I watched these as a kid. I think you might like them and stuff. And since they were on TV, they were edited for TV. So they cut out all the, stuff that my parents wouldn't allow me to watch. And they fuzzed out and bleeped all the curse words. What the fudge are you doing here? Like, so stupid. That'll be another conversation for another day. But yeah, I would watch like Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, and I would just become so fascinated with slasher films, and I loved them. I loved Friday the 13th and Jason coming back and being the tale of Camp Crystal Lake and having the killer kill teenagers that had sex and stuff. Freddy would come in your dreams for Nightmare on Elm Street. Michael Myers hates life and hates his sister, and he just creeps around and shit. So, yeah, and if you guys were wondering why I was kind of stumbling around Friday the 13th, I was trying not to spoil the actual, like, reveal of the killer at the end. Sorry. But those three really kind of influenced me to kind of expand my horror knowledge and really just kind of get invested in this genre and kind of watch a little bit more than slasher films in terms of like watching psychological horror or haunted house horror, poltergeist or ghosts or body transformation horror. I mean, there's so many different types of subgenres in this category. It's kind of amazing. So I used to watch like all those as a kid and whatnot, and I'm trying to think of the scariest movie I saw as a kid. I always thought The Nightmare Before Christmas was kind of creepy. Yeah, I might go with that. I thought the Child's Play movies were pretty creepy. Because I remember I saw those as a kid too, and I did have little stuffed dolls. You can fucking judge me all you want, but after watching Child's Play and Chucky, I was actually convinced that they were alive. And this was around Toy Story came out too, so I was convinced that they were alive and they were gonna, put chloroform on my mouth while I'm sleeping and like pass me out and like operate on me like on a surgical table. Like listen, as a kid, my imagination ran wild. That is for sure. But yeah, Child's Play was definitely a huge influence on me growing up. But when I started getting to like my teenage years, I started to ask my parents if I could rent some R-rated horror movies and stuff, and I would go to my local video store, which yes, those were around back in the day, in the good old late 90s, early 2000s, and I'd go to the horror section and get like Leprechaun, Hellraiser, what else? What else was? I mean, guys, there were a lot of them, but I would go and get new horror films and kind of discover some of the influencers in horror, like a George A. Romero with the zombie films, or Wes Craven and the Nightmare on Elm Street, and like The Hills Have Eyes and all that stuff. So I was just kind of exploring new directors and whatnot. And I remember I came across the Blair Witch Project. Now, the movie came out when I was 9 years old, and I watched it. I was fucking freaked out. Because here's the deal, folks, with these found footage movies. If you set it in a location or an environment that's actually common with most people, it is way creepier. Case in point. That's why Paranormal Activity works very well, because most people live in houses or apartment, so that movie creeped the fuck out of me. But I'll get to that story a little later in my life. Versus was it Apollo 11, that stupid alien movie in space that was found footage? Well, guess what, guys? Not many people have been to space, so I didn't really feel a connection. But with Blair Witch, I've been to the woods millions of times as a kid. I love camping and stuff. Me and my friends shot a bunch of our stupid short films out in the woods and stuff. So the Blair Witch Project terrified me. I was like, I do not want to go in the woods ever again. So this was around my kind of teenage years and whatnot. When I was 17, I watched so many horror films, because at this point I could watch R-rated movies by myself. I could rent them by myself. My parents didn't care. They're just like, you're of age, whatever, you go do it. So I watched so many fucking horror films at age 17 in terms of renting and going to seek some out, whether it be gory films, slasher films, monster films. Because when I was about 15 or 16, I'm a guy, so I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I was into movies with sex, boobs, violence, whatever. So one day I looked up the 10 goriest films of all time, and I started going down the list, and I saw movies like High Tension, Evil Dead, Dead Alive, Hostel, Saw, just a typical list. And so I had never seen the Evil Dead movies or Dead Alive. And so, being my perverted mind, I wanted to seek out these movies. So when I was 17, I actually came across Evil Dead at a Walmart or whatever. I bought it on the spot, watched it that day, fucking loved it. Went back, bought the sequel, blind bought it, watched it, loved it. Army of Darkness, bought it, blind bought, love it. So that kind of expanded me to more older horror films and these over-the-top kind of campy horror films that kind of opened my mind to that. I'm trying to think of an older campy horror film. Kind of like those Grindhouse movies. I think I sold it, but I had a collection of 20 Grindhouse films, and it would be over the top violence and whatnot. And that's what it got me into Trauma, Evil Dead and stuff. So I started watching the Toxic Avenger and whatnot. I started watching these underground horror films. I had so much fun with them. But also, as I was discovering these gore films and whatnot, I was just watching horror movies in general, at the theaters now, because I could watch R-rated ones. So I watched so many as a kid. One of my favorite movie experiences was Hostel 2. Came out when I was 17. And I actually liked the sequel more than the first one. The sequel, to me, I think, since it takes the perspective of the buyers, I think that's more intriguing than the first Hostel. But after all is said and done, I could talk about all these movies all day, every day. But probably the biggest influence on me franchise-wise growing up, because I actually got to see all of them in real time. So every Halloween they came out in theaters, I would watch them. It was the Saw films. And yes, that is my millennial ass speaking, so just calm down. First Saw came out in 2004, 2003, and from that point on, every single year they had a Saw movie. I actually like the whole franchise. I think all 7 are great. The first 3 is a really solid trilogy, and I think 4, 5, 6, and 7 get a bad rap. I think it's a really great kind of murder mystery cop type of movie. If you think of it like that instead of torture porn, you might like it a little bit more. But I enjoy all 7 of them, and that is the franchise I kind of grew up with in real time as I was growing up as a teenager. So getting into, like my college years, I would, yes, watch modern horror films and whatnot, and then I would watch older films like on Blu-ray or DVD. One of my favorite movie experiences was when I saw the first Paranormal Activity in 2009. I saw it at like 3 p.m., so I saw it like really early in the day. But then, after the movie was done, it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock. I went home, and I remember I couldn't sleep like all that night. I was imagining that my fucking roommate was going to kill me in my sleep. Because in Paranormal Activity, like, when she's possessed or whatever, she's just like standing and looming over the bed and like staring at her, her boyfriend. And it's just so fucking creepy. So I imagine that. So I stayed up all night in the living room. And after, a while, I went to a Krispy Kreme donut shop and got a donut and some coffee and did my homework. And I love when horror films can like get into your head like that and just fuck up your day and night. And I love being scared. I love it. I love it. Love it. I love that thrill. I know a lot of people might roll their eyes and be like, why the fuck do you like being scared? It makes no goddamn sense. Well, life doesn't make sense sometimes, folks. So, yeah, that was one of the films that kind of spooked me. And then some other horror films that kind of gave me nightmares, if we're on that subject, was 2 other films, because three films actually scared me enough to either have a nightmare that I vividly remember, or I could not sleep. So the other 2 films that gave me nightmares were 13 Ghosts and The Ring, the American version. Now, 13 Ghosts, it's not really a good movie, but for some weird reason, because it takes place in like a basement with like a bunch of like ghosts and ghouls like locked up, and it just at one point in the movie, all 13 of them are released and they're stalking the people and killing them, and like some of them look pretty creepy. And I just, for some weird reason, I had a nightmare about that, and I woke up in a panic sweat, and I was like, wow, that was bad. So, but then The Ring, which by the way, I love The Ring. And during the J-horror kind of boom, if you will, that Hollywood went through and started remaking everything, I actually think The Ring with Naomi Watts is the best thing that we adapted from J-horror. The Grudge is awful. Never Saw the Eye. One Missed Call is pretty bad. Pulse is pretty bad. It just, I hate most of those films. And I actually like most of the Japanese horror films. Like Ringu is pretty cool. Ju-On, The Grudge is really cool. I remember we started watching like so many of those J-horror films as a teenager. But anyway, back to The Ring. I remember vividly, this is how my dream went, guys. I'm going to try to diagram out my parents' house through audio. So I woke up, and this is in the nightmare. I woke up out of my bed, and I was like, I'm thirsty. I need to get some water. So I get up out of my room, and I exit the door. I go down the hallway, which is maybe like 3 feet. And if you take a right, then the hallway shoots all the way down to my parents' room. The living room is on the right, and the front door is on the left. And you go a little further, and then the kitchen's right there next to my parents' room. I get the water. I drink the water. I feel good. My throat's a little clear, and I want to go back to bed. I exit the kitchen, and I get out, and I take a left, and I go back down the hallway to my room. I get to the end of the hallway. Right before I take a left to go back to my room, I hear a noise. It sounded like someone bumped into something. I turned around. I didn't see anything. So I started going back to my room. I heard the noise again. I turned back around and I started to investigate a little bit more. And at this point, I'm in a nightmare still. And I'm sweating and stuff, and I'm fully aware of what's happening. This nightmare is fucking terrifying, but I remember it to this day. I started to search around, like, who's making the noise? What's going on? So then I step closer to my parents' door. I see a figure. It's outlined like a little girl, and she's turned around with long black hair. So at this point in the nightmare, I'm thinking to myself, oh shit, this is Samara from The Ring. I don't know what to do. So I was frozen, deer in the headlights. I take another step forward because I want to know like exactly what it is, because I just thought it looked like Samara from the back. The figure turns around. Long, black, greasy, wet hair, just like The Ring, covering her front face. She lifts up her head and stares at me. I can't see any eyes. I am standing there in sheer terror. I ask in the nightmare, very stupidly, What are you doing here? Who are you? She just stares. And I remember I tried to take a step forward because in your nightmares I guess you're stupider, more stupid, but stupider. Take another step. She takes a step. So at this point, it's like a Western duel. I take another step. She takes another step. I yell at her one last time, "What are you doing?" It's like 5 seconds, 10 seconds. And I felt like time stopped. But then, this Samara chick fucking bolts at me. She starts running in a full sprint. I turn around. I fucking whip around and go back to my room. I take a left down the hallway and my door is right there. I open the door. I open it. I get inside my room. And I turn around real quick. And Samara is right there behind me and about to like run down the hallway. And you guys have to keep in mind, in nightmares, everything is elongated when you're like running down hallways or rooms. Like it just stretches out and it feels like it's forever. And so I'm on my door, I open it, I close it, and then I hear Samara hit my door. I lock it. I go to my bed. I get under the covers and I'm just like fucking freaked out of my mind. I try to look for like a flashlight because at this point I didn't have a phone in my presence. I didn't get a phone until like 2003. This movie came out in 2002. So I was looking for a flashlight. And I get the flashlight, turn it on, I'm like looking around my room. I hear the banging at the door. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm counting them. And they get slower. They get fewer every single time. So 1, 2. 1, 2. 1. 1. 1. Stop. The knocking at the door stopped. So I was like, she's gone. She's going back to wherever butthole depths of hell that she came from. My light starts shorting out in the flashlight. I hit it with my hand. I'm like, no, please, not, no, this can't happen right now. I hit the flashlight numerous times with my hand. The light glitches on and off. The light comes back on. I scan it across my room. Nothing. The light goes out again. I hit it a couple times. The light keeps flickering. I hit the flashlight one last time. The light comes on. And the light was pointed towards the corner of my room. Samara was in the corner of my room. And she just sprinted towards me. And at that point, my alarm woke me up. And I woke up in the most sheer fucking panic I have in my entire life. That was probably the worst nightmare I remember having as a kid, and I still remember to this day, and it was just so fucking scary. But anyways, I hope I described that pretty well for you guys. If you guys like that, maybe I should do a horror themed podcast where I just read stories out and stuff. I think that'd be a lot of fun, or create stories or whatever. That'd be really cool. Let me know down below if you guys want that. But yeah, so the Ring, 13 Ghosts, and Paranormal Activity are like the only movies that give me nightmares, like genuine fucking nightmares. So moving into my college years, like I said, I started to explore a little more, watch some of the older films, watch the newer films in theaters and whatnot, and I started to notice a trend. I really hate like PG-13 horror for the most part, but every once in a while they'll hit it out of the park. But for the most part, I just hate PG-13 horror. They hide a lot of stuff. They don't really show anything, but you can make a good PG-13 horror film. Case in point, when I was in college, Insidious came out. Had no idea what to expect. I just knew it was from the writer of Saw, and I was like, perfect. Love Saw. Let's do this. And Insidious is great. Insidious 1, 2, and 3. Another great modern horror trilogy. I was really surprised. I love the mood and the atmosphere and just the way the cinematography is dark and gloomy and so creative with its cuts and edits in terms of how to scare the audience. I love all that. Such a great modern horror film. So at that point, I was kind of convinced, and this is in college, like PG-13 horror films can do very, very well and whatnot. And, as years pass, I get a little older and whatnot, and the found footage trend was starting to die. And I'm just like, Paranormal Activity and the Blair Witch Project pretty much revitalized the genre, and there was a lot during my college years. So many found footage movies. But then there was a couple that kind of surprised me. VHS 1 and VHS 2. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, really? Those movies? I actually contend that VHS 2 is my favorite found footage movie of all time so far. It is so ingenious in how it uses the horror anthology, how it shoots its little short films or whatever. I love it. All the little short stories are creepy as shit. I love the practical effects and the makeup, and even the CGI was blended very well. It just reminded me of like if you're around like a campfire with your friends and you're like telling stories or whatever, and like this is what would kind of pop up. And I contend that VHS and VHS 2, like with Insidious and Saw, are some of my favorite modern horror films. Speaking of campfire stories, I recently got this movie 2 weeks ago. And I didn't know what to expect. I just know a lot of people talked about it, and I got it for like $5. So I was like, sure, why not? It's Trick or Treat. Guys, I've seen Trick or Treat twice now, and it's by far one of my favorite, I think it is my favorite modern horror film so far. It is literally the definition of like campfire story, because it's a horror anthology about this town, and it just kind of takes place across a bunch of different, trick-or-treaters and partiers and stuff, and we just kind of see the story kind of play out, and they're really creepy and stuff, and they all tie in, and I just love it. I love Trick or Treat, and I think it joins the ranks, like I said, modern horror for sure. And as I got older, like in film school and stuff, I started to realize that there are many different types of horror. Like, for instance, There'll Be Blood, Paul Thomas Anderson classic. That's a horror film. That's a horror film on humanity and how greed can corrupt it and stuff. Or if you look at like movies like Up in the Air, George Clooney, very very sweet little movie, right? No, I consider it like a horror film of the security of jobs and whatnot. So I don't know, like I think horror can take shape in many different forms in terms of movies and whatnot, and how you look at it. Like, it could be like the horrors of humanity, or the horrors of growing up, or the horrors of bullying, or whatever. And it could be a drama for the most part, but you could also find like horrific elements in there, and that would be considered a horror film. And horror films just expand all across everywhere. Like, growing up with the slasher films and getting into the gore films like Evil Dead, discovering foreign ones like Let the Right One In, or High Tension, or the boom of found footage, or noticing when you get older and your film tastes change with like There Will Be Blood and whatnot. Horror films to me are just one of my favorite genres, and just telling you guys all these stories growing up and stuff, it makes me want to watch a horror movie now because it is just that influential on me. I grew up with them, grew up with many types. I still continue to love them to this day, and whatnot. And I guess to wrap up this section, I do have a pet peeve, though, with horror films. It's one of my main ones. Well, first of all, most of them are cliched. That's not a problem. It's actually the theater-going experiences. Now, like I said, most horror films nowadays are PG-13. Can't really control that. So you're going to allow all these like stupid teenagers in here that pretty much get frightened at, everything. That is one of the things I do hate about horror films is jump scares. Like, that don't really warrant a scare. They're just there to make a loud noise and scare the crap out of you. I'm telling you, teenagers are the worst. They are just the fucking worst when it comes to horror films. Now, if you are a teenager out there listening, I'm not directly targeting you. I'm just saying that what I've experienced for the most part, most of them are terrible. But at this, you got to keep in mind, I was also a teenager while watching these horror films being annoyed by other teenagers. So it spans across many decades. So, yeah, I hate kids in horror films. They talk all the time. They're on their fucking cell phones, and it's so annoying, and they get scared so easily. They talk during it, and just like horror movies are one of the worst when it comes to that. So yeah, that's one of my pet peeves, guys. I don't have any stories. I've encountered phone people. I've encountered talking people during horror films. Being scared and like, oh Lord Jesus. It's like, come on, it's quiet down a little bit. Yeah, so guys, that is gonna wrap up my kind of Halloween horror section and my favorite horror films and what I grew up with and whatnot. I can't really pinpoint any bad horror films like at the top of my head. I just know that horror is constantly changing. There's a lot of great ones out there, but yeah, most of the PG-13 horror films are pretty bad. So there you go. Yeah, so that is my experience with horror films and whatnot. And comment down below and let me know some of your horror stories, I guess, or Halloween stories, or how you got into horror. What are some of your favorite? What are some of your least favorite? Comment in the place from my face and let me know. It was really fun to kind of talk to you guys, just kind of get a little personal about this holiday. So yeah, so that will do it for that portion. Now, guys, I promised a bonus movie review. You're probably thinking to yourself, Chase, what is this? What is this? What is this debauchery you're about to do? So I get a text from one of my friends who I've known for 10 years. I'm going to attend his wedding in a couple weeks, and we like to hang out and watch movies. So he asked, he's like, "What are you up to tonight?" And this was last night, so Saturday, October 29th. I was like, I'm not doing much, just kind of chilling, watching some horror films on Netflix and whatnot. I just finished watching Cabin in the Woods. Great little modern horror film, by the way. I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. What do you want to do? He's like, do you want to go see a movie? I'm like, ooh, this is perfect. It's Halloween season. Let's watch a movie together. I don't care what we watch. Let's just watch something to get us in the Halloween spirit and mood. So he was like, how about something in theaters? Now, thinking to myself, there's a reason why I skipped last weekend, because I didn't really want to see anything from last weekend. And nothing came out this weekend except for Inferno. So I was like, what did you want to watch? There's really no horror movies out. He was like, well, I don't want to watch Medea. Because, I don't want to watch it either. So then he suggested Ouija, Origin of Evil. Now, I told him, I said, I'm curious about the movie, but I'm not like jumping up and down for it. Because the first Ouija movie I did not see, but I saw the trailer to it, looked atrocious. It's got like a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. Ouija Origin of Evil has like an 80%. Huh. Okay, so I'm a little bit more curious about it. So he said, if I can convince my fiance to go with us, do you want to go? I was like, I'm down. Let's go to the Alamo Draft House, have some liquor and beer, and get drunk while watching probably to a really bad horror film. I did drink when I was there, but that didn't alter my experience because I actually liked it. I know it's fucking weird. I don't know why I skipped it last weekend, but hey, it was last weekend's episode was better for it anyway. So, but yeah, I saw Ouija Origin of Evil. So here's my bonus movie review for you guys. Ouija Origin of Evil. I'm just going to do a very quick one. I'm not going to go into like in-depth or analysis, but so here we go. Written and directed by Mike Flanagan, who did Oculus 3 years ago, which is a really great kind of psychological horror film. He also did Hush from this year, which is a woman who is deaf and she's being stalked, home invasion movie. So I really like that one as well. What I really appreciate about Mike Flanagan's direction is that he actually tried. Not only from the costumes and the props and just the overall tone of a late 60s movie and environment, but he also really created some really neat scares in terms of how you place the camera or how you edit the scene or how you misdirect the audience and you don't really do much, but you just have something in the background to kind of creep you out. I loved Mike Flanagan's direction in this film, and I actually really cared for the characters. Because that's a huge problem in horror films is you don't really care about who dies or who lives. So I thought he created a pretty neat little story. The story isn't like, the best thing ever. It's kind of like, it's so-so, it's whatever. But I thought the overall direction and tone that Mike Flanagan was going for, it was creepy in some parts. It was terrifying in some parts. I actually liked the effects on the little girl for the most part. And I really do like the characters. I like the family chemistry between all three of the women and whatnot. So I thought he created a pretty decent little horror film that had great mood and atmosphere that had some genuine characters that we cared about. Now, the one thing I kind of disliked about the writing and directing and stuff, some of the dialogue was a little hokey. Some of the plot points in the story was a little forced and a little contrived. There's an exposition dump scene, and it's like, we kind of knew it was coming type of deal. Everything was kind of convenient for the story. But that didn't really bother me that much because I was just having a fun time with it. But the one big thing I have a huge issue with on the directing is the CGI. It's like when you have a movie that is so saturated and soaked in the 60s environment and you're using practical effects for the most part, the CGI just kind of takes you out of it. So I didn't really buy into those scenes that had heavy CGI demons in it, but I liked, some of the ones that was kind of like just an outline of the figure or whatnot. So, yeah, I just didn't really care for the CGI. Acting-wise, I was really impressed. I thought all the women in the movie did very, very well. I love the daughters. The little girl was so fucking creepy. There was a monologue in the middle of the movie that she gave about strangling people. Whew, it gave me chills. I was like, that was pretty good direction and writing right there. So, yeah, little girl was fantastic. She was really creepy with her all white eyes. Ugh, I'll fucking hit a bitch if I see someone demonic with white eyes like that. No, thank you. The older daughter does very, very well. She was in Oculus as the little girl, and I thought she did very well in Oculus. Also done by Flanagan. The mother was really good. I really kind of bought into her and her performance and the struggle that she had to, save her house and continue to do her fortune teller thing. But then when she comes across the Ouija board, really trying to figure out what's going on and, just trying to save her daughters and sacrifice her. So, I don't know. I kind of liked her. She was really cool. All the supporting cast does fine as well. Cinematography-wise, I was really impressed. I thought capturing kind of like that glossy, glowy tone of the 60s and whatnot, I thought Flanagan did a very, very good job with that. And some of the shot choices in terms of how he composes a shot with either like the demon in the background or in the far left corner or just how he moved the camera. It felt very old school. It felt like an old style 60s type of movie and whatnot with, like zooming in very slowly into a character and divoting to the right. There's many different types of tropes that you put in with the cinematography and the lighting that I really enjoyed, and it applies very well to the era of the film and the scares of the film for the most part. Editing wise and special effects, like I said, the practical effects were awesome. I really liked it. I thought they were blended in very, very well. And even some of the CGI was blended in very well. But some of the demon CGI was just like, fucking took me out of that thing. Editing wise, the movie's an hour and a half long. It's not going to win the Oscars. It's not like the most compelling thing ever. It's not the best movie of the year. But I think for an hour and a half, I think it has enough solid scares to kind of keep you entertained. And there's a lot of visual eye candy with, like I said, the costumes and the props and the environment and whatnot to where it would keep you interested. So, guys, overall, it wasn't bad. It was a nice little horror film, a little throwaway horror film to watch on Halloween weekend. I love Mike Flanagan's direction, even though the story was kind of convenient and weak at some points. CGI and the demon, no thank you. But the cinematography and some of the editing on the film are super strong in terms of how to scare people subtly. Yes, there were some jump scare moments, but for the most part, they were all subtle scares and frights, which I really enjoyed because most of the film, the sound was so silent. Like, it was just silence. And then, like, you know, it'd just be something in the background that kind of creep you out, and I think that's just really great editing technique and direction from Mike Flanagan and stuff. So overall, guys, not the best thing in the world, but I was highly surprised. I'll give Ouija Origin of Evil a C+. So there you go. For all you Ouija fans, I actually kind of enjoyed the prequel. So yeah, so what'd you guys think of Orgy? What'd you guys think of that orgy? No, what'd you guys think of Ouija Origin of Evil? Comment in the place around my face and let me know. Guys, the entrees are out of the way. Let's get into the desserts of the round. Let's talk about some box office results for the weekend. Let me pull up the numbers right here, folks. All right. Did you guys forget that Inferno came out? The third film in the Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code franchise? No, I forgot to. All right, so let's see. Okay, so number 5, we have Ouija Origin of Evil. Probably, it only dropped 50%. I mean, it probably had a little bump for the Halloween crowd like myself, because the theater I was in was almost packed. It was a small theater, but still almost packed. So Ouija Origin of Evil, $7 million. Let's see. Its budget is $9 million, and domestically it's made $24 million, and worldwide it's made $43 million. You guys know the rules for the budget. You got double it, then add the PA and marketing, and you've pretty much got your break-even point. So doubling 9, you had 18. With marketing, I'm going to say they spent about maybe 5, maybe 10 million on marketing and stuff. So I'm going to say about 28-30 million to break even, just for shits and giggles, and it's at 43 million worldwide. So congratulations, they made bank and made a positive spread. So I'm actually happy for it. You know, like I said, wasn't a bad little horror film. Number 4, The Accountant, with 8.4 million. Its budget is 44, and domestically, which is the U.S. and Canada, it's at 61 million, and worldwide it's at 72. It needs to make about 90. 95 maybe to break even. So the fact that it's at 72, it's getting there. I think it will do just fine. I really like the Accountant quite a bit. Number 3 is Jack Reacher Never Go Back, with 9.5 million. Its budget is 60 million, and right now worldwide it's at 93, with marketing and P&A and doubling the budget. I'm gonna say about 130, 135 to break even. Still got ways to go, but I think I can do it. Number 2 is the new release. Oh, what a huge flop. Inferno, with 15 million. Its budget is 75, so with P&A and marketing and doubling that, we're looking at 160, 165 maybe to break even. But then again, it crushed worldwide, because in the foreign territory, it made 132 million. So worldwide, it's at 147. So it actually will break even and actually make profit. But in the States and Canada, 15 million. It fucking tanked. Some of these people here are getting sick and tired of it. And number 1, just like last weekend, dropped 41%, is Boo! A Medea Halloween, with 16.6 million. Its budget is 20 million, and right now it's got 52 million domestic and pretty much worldwide. It barely has any foreign numbers, so doubling that with P&A Marketing, I'm going to say 45 to break even. They're at 52, so Tyler Perry's company is doing just fine. So that will do it, guys, for this week's episode of Real Me and Colin Movie Podcast. I'm going to thank you guys for listening once again. You guys are fucking awesome. This is episode 153, guys. We are 3 away from the 3-year anniversary of this show. For next week, episode 154, I am so excited for it. It is coming, guys. Doctor fucking Strange. I'm seeing that on Sunday, so I will have my show a little later than usual. It'll be Sunday afternoon. I will have my review of Doctor Strange and Trolls. Or I might do a triple and add Hacksaw Ridge, maybe, or take Trolls out and have that in replace. But either way, it'll be Doctor Strange and something else. So that will be next week's show, guys. But I want to thank you guys for listening to this week's show. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @RealChaseLee. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Spreaker. Follow on iTunes. Write a review. Rate the show. Give it 5 stars. Spread this around to your friends and family and say this is the definitive movie podcast, and they should listen to it because you guys are fucking awesome. I'm glad that you guys are spreading this show around and whatnot and sharing it around. But continue to do that. Continue to support the show. I do this for free for you guys because I enjoy you guys listening every single week, and I appreciate all the emails I have gotten in the past about people that do listen and the Twitter response and whatnot. So thank you very much. Next week, Doctor Strange and a surprise movie, I guess. It will either be Hacksaw Ridge, Trolls, or both. So yeah, that will do it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you once again. Write down below what are some of your favorite horror films or horror Halloween experiences or whatever. All that stuff. Comment in the place from my face and let me know. Guys, happy Halloween. Be safe. Eat some candy just like me. Get drunk, but be safe. You guys are fucking dope. Stay badass. See you guys next week for another episode of Real Me and Colin, a movie podcast. And hey, listen, if you made it through this entire thing and you were not a movie fan, well, hopefully my fat candy ass convinced you to be one. So happy Halloween, guys. Peace out. Intro and outro music is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. And speaking of them, check them out. Here's their outro. Bye-bye.